we let each other know exactly what we want to talk about on the agenda. I know things come up, but the idea of saying proposal, contract, agreement, I have no idea what that is all about.
Well, what Mr. Woods is saying, based on our policy BBAA, it said because all powers of the Board of Trustees lies in the action as a group, individual board members exercise the authority over the district affairs only as a vote to be taken the legal meeting of the board. That legal meeting to add this on the agenda has not taken place. In other instances, an individual board member, including the chairman, will have power only when the board, by vote, has delegated authority to him or her. The board will not be bound in any way by any action or statement on the part of an individual board member not get delegated by the board. This is our policy, BBAA. So if we're going to follow policy.
Mr. Coachman, you're completely misunderstanding
No, ma'am, I'm
the
not.
policy.
I think I understand it quite well.
Miss,
Is our attorney here yet? He is.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could we go down individually then and show me the items that the board members approved respectively as a group for this meeting, if that's the case, if the board has to collectively act to add an item to the agenda?
You'd have to have a meeting to have.
It's a courtesy to give prior notification, but to say that collectively that the board has to have a meeting or group or agree. The agenda is set by the chair and by the superintendent, and that's by policy. And if there's items that need to be put on there at that time, any board member has the right to have items, action items, discussion items, whatever the case may be. But if it's something that pertains to matters that cannot be discussed openly, maybe personnel related or anything else.
That's fine.
So again, I mean, I just don't see where, I don't know of any of these items that I approved to be on the agenda for this meeting. So if it's the case that the board has to do that, then, you know, we need to change our whole process because that's not happening.
Okay, well, as long as I just want to bring the policy out, make everybody aware of it. If you want to do it in the executive session, that's fine.
Okay. Ms. Parson? Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Fleming. I think when I first got the agenda, I expressed that I was in the dark about what this was. I never like to go into anything without having some inkling of what it is, and these matters here, I have no earthly idea what they are, and as you said in your meeting, you wanted us to discuss it in open session and then come back out and to vote on it, discuss it in executive session and come back out and talk about it and vote on it in open session. In open session, these matters are too important without such a little notice, with no idea what it entails. I do not like being put in the dark to make a decision about personnel matters that maybe means spending a lot of the school district's money on a buyout or anything like that, because we have been through that before, and I am not going to be a part of that again. Now, and I want that to be made clear, so whatever you have up your sleeve, whatever tricks you plan to play or whatever you plan to pull, I do not want to be a part of it, because I am going in the dark and I feel like I'm being blindsided, and I don't like it, and I want the public to know that there is a concerted effort by this board to do some things with the superintendent's contract, which, by the way, was a favorable evaluation according to our attorney back in January. Nothing has been done up until now, and now all this stuff comes up about what you want to do, and I have no earthly idea what you're talking about, and I don't like it. The policy states it, so I want the public to know that this is where I stand. I will not be a part of spending taxpayers' money on a witch hunt, an idea to destroy someone's career for no earthly reason. I went through that once, and I won't go through it again. I was put a gag on by an attorney that we couldn't discuss a person's name, and we spent a tremendous amount of money, which we don't have. We can't even pay for an electrician, and we're talking about spending thousands of dollars on a contract buyout. This borders on insanity almost. I've had my say on that matter.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Mr.
Do we
Driggers.
have any idea, I'm sitting here, and this is about the 5th time, and I've been on this board now for a year and a half, that we discussed the agenda. Mr. Duff, you're sitting out there.
He's here now.
Yeah.
Oh,
In my understanding of an agenda is a guide so you can conduct your meeting in a timely manner and take care of the business that has been said or brought forth for a board. That's all an agenda is. If I'm wrong, you correct me.
Mr. Driggers, if you look at this agenda here, on each item, they give an explanation with down in the body of the agenda. Yes, ma'am.
You are out of order.
Perhaps I am.
Mr. Driggers, well, and we need to take a deep breath here.
No, I do
Everybody
not.
Stay calm.
I am calm.
Well, Mr. Driggers has the floor.
Okay. Well, he asked it. He raised a question, and I just wanted to clarify to him that every item on
You
here.
are continuing to speak, and Mr. Driggers
Okay, all right.
has the floor.
Go ahead, Mr. Driggers. I'm sorry.
Mr. Driggers.
Mr. Duff, am I right on what the agenda's purpose is?
Well, you're right that an agenda is a guide for the topics that the board may discuss at a meeting. Now, it does have legal significance in that, for example, you can't start discussing an item, particularly one that you might want to act upon, unless it's on the agenda. You pretty much can skip over items that might be on the agenda that you decide at the meeting you don't need to or don't want to talk about. So an agenda is important. Now, and I think as Mr. Goff said, normally, and I don't have your policy manual in front of me, but normally there is a specific policy on how the agenda is developed. And it typically says, again, I don't have yours immediately in front of me, but it typically says that the board chair and the superintendent will meet, and sometimes it's the superintendent and occasionally the board officers, will meet in advance of the meeting and prepare an agenda, which and also typically there's a provision that says that if any board members want an item on the agenda, they will bring it to the attention of the chair or the superintendent in time for that meeting that takes place to prepare the agenda.
Okay, and in essence, anything that says executive session should not be discussed in the public meeting room like we are right now, like some of it's getting discussed, but it should not be discussed. We should go into executive session, discuss that, come back as needed. It's on this Bible's agenda, it says actions will be taken as needed, meaning that we're going to go back and discuss it. We may decide to do absolutely nothing. I don't know what these parts are either. I don't know if we're supposed to say, because I'm one of those that's been harping on the superintendent's evaluation. We may go in the back, and all the rest of the board members may say, let's just forget about it. That may be what this discussion is going to be in the back. I don't know.
Right.
No one knows. But right now, I'm just sick and tired of the agenda squabble. I mean, you know, let's just do the agenda, lay it out, go through it, and get through it.
It's not clear to me and I walked in a minute or two late, it's not clear to me what you're debating, what item you're debating about.
I think I can
That's
clarify
all I
this.
wanted you to explain was the agenda, what I said.
All right.
Was a guide for us to go by for a timely manner, which we do not do. But that's what I wanted. It's a question I asked you, and I appreciate your answer for that. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Coachman had, Ms. Duff, Mr. Coachman was trying to say that because we didn't say that we wanted all of these items on the agenda at the last regular meeting, that we couldn't discuss any of them.
No, that's not what Mr. Coachman was saying.
All right, well then say that again.
Mr.
Say what
Coachman
you
was
said.
saying he's concerned because he was not made aware of the items that were added to the agenda at the last minute. We as board members, we all have the right to know what items are added so we can be prepared to the further discussion, not just a few. But if it's fine, it's an executive session, we'll discuss it in executive session.
All right, would someone make a motion to approve the agenda unless there's
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And, let's see, Can you see the hands, Ms. Tweed? You got them? All opposed? And Ms. Fleming, where are you?
I'm abstaining.
All abstentions? All right, and the motion's carried. Thank you very much. Now, under new business, there's approval of the minutes for July 11th, 2016. Would someone make a motion, please, to approve the agenda? I mean, the minutes.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the meeting for July 11th, 2016.
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And all opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, Ms. Fleming is abstaining, and the motion's carried. And next, we have individuals or groups who wish to appear before the board. And Mr. Michael Toms wants to discuss the board/superintendent. Mr. Toms.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Tiller, staff and community. It is again that I stand before you. I believe the last time, I think it had something to do with the superintendent also. But this time it's on board and superintendent. And not a minute too soon, seeing that the conversation has already been heated. I really stood to commend the board and Dr. Tiller. You know, 10 years ago, Marlboro County stood in the middle of a crossroad. Our reputation pretty much had been tarnished across the state. You know, we went through superintendent after superintendent. And the last time I spoke before this board, I think it was when Dr. Tiller first came, and she was fulfilling 6 or 7 months of another contract. And I brought to the board's attention that Marlboro County needed stability. Marlboro County needed the stability to regain their credibility amongst other educational systems, and we needed credibility in order to lure people to our county to work. And since then, I think Marlboro County has made great strides. I mean, driving into Marlboro County from any different direction, you'll see the fruit of you all's labor with new schools in Clio, Blenheim, Wallace, and many renovations throughout the district. You ought to be proud that you had a superintendent and yourself with the vision that you all have carried out. You ought to give yourself a round of applause for that, because truly you all have worked hard. But unity is what can keep us growing. You know, the board have but one major responsibility, say two, and make sure we're properly funded, and make sure you keep a good educational leader to lead district. You know, I think this superintendent evaluation has been on the agenda for a few years. And to say that you have a superintendent who's responsible for over 700 employees, either directly or indirectly, they must be evaluated yearly for their contracts. And they say we have a board who's been going back and forth for a number of years just to evaluate one employee. We can do better. I know we can do better. You have already shown that you could do better through your school improvements. You have to look at the dropout rate. What has happened to the dropout rate in Marlboro County? The K-14 concept that you all have. In the partnership with the economic development in Northeastern Tech. You know, just recently I was reading in Forbes magazine about how the world is becoming short of vocational ed students, welders, carpenters. You know, our board, we don't need to be bickering when we have a leader that's leading us into the 21st century. We need to be coming together to try to get the best for our students. I know you owe the taxpayers responsibility, but more so than the taxpayers, we need to be worried about each and every child in this district, ensuring that we provide them everything that they need to obtain a quality education, become a productive citizen. So I just ask you, Let's come together. Let's not take Marlboro County back where we used to be. Let's not take Marlboro County back where we used to be. Let's move Marlboro County forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next, administrative services. All items of information only. Dr. McLeod, you need an update on small school projects.
Madam Chair, did you skip one?
Did I?
Yeah, individual
Oh, I did,
items
I'm
from
sorry.
board members of September.
Y'all watch me tonight because I broke my glasses, so I'm struggling to see this. Are there any items that board members would like to put on the agenda for next month?
Yeah,
That's not to be all of them, but if there are any big ones, that was why I added this to the agenda several years ago, so that if anybody had a big project that they wanted on here, then the superintendent had plenty of lead time to prepare material. And previously, there was nothing on the agenda for that kind of inclusion. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Does anyone have anything they want on the next agenda?
I do.
All right, Mr. Coachman?
I just want to add 2 items to the agenda for next month.
All right.
And there are 2 policies that I'll add to be discussed.
Okay.
BBBC and policy BBB.
Say the first one again, please.
BBBC.
BD.
B as in boy. B
dog.
as in boy.
Oh, boy.
B as in
Okay.
boy. BBB.
BBB.
C as
C.
in cat.
Okay. I got that
And
wrong.
BBB again.
BBBC. And what was the next one?
BBB.
BBB. All right.
And I would like to ask the administration to get us some information on those
All
policies
right.
to bring before the next board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Coachman. Does anyone else have anything?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Goff?
Policy Bravo Delta Hotel, BDH. And that would be-
Bravo Delta Hotel.
Correct. Board
BDH.
consultants, board consultant staff assistants.
Good, I wanted that one on there too.
Thank you.
And Mr. Woods?
Yes, I like for about advanced ed that is coming in 2017. Do our accreditation.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Okay. And moving along, and thank you for catching that I'd skipped that, Mr. Coachman. Administrative services, Dr. McLeod. We need an update on small school projects.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, I'm going to take you on a brief trip to Wallace so that you can see where we are with the grounds up there.
By film?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You'll turn around.
It's looking good.
Okay, Mr. Two. Okay, this is the view from number 9, the first entrance if you're coming from Bennettsville. Notice that they are grading over to the right, and they still have to go further to the right. Next. Same general area, just a different part of the school. That's looking at the middle of the school. Next. That's the grove of trees that are presently fairly thick, that's still out in front of the building. Next.
Mr. McClung, those
Yes, ma'am.
Those are the trees I was asking about last month. Are they going to remain there?
I think right now, Ms. Fleming, the plan is to thin them some. Now, nobody's told me to go ahead and
Yeah, we would like to keep them if we could.
and cut them out, but I think they're probably going to take a few of them out. And in one of the next one, go ahead, Mr. Two. Mr. Two,
I've had the community contact
you'll
them
be
to
able
keep those trees.
to see what it looks like from another angle. Next, Mr. Two. Okay, that's a long shot of the entrance up there. Now, if you notice that little road that's running right in front of it, they have the loop in completely, and the front parking lot, which you'll see in just a minute. Next, Mr. Two. Okay, that's that same, I guess you would call it the east end of the building. Next. Next. Now, that's what it looks like from across the road and coming from Sherrall with those trees in there. Notice that it has the school blocked out fairly well.
That's all right.
I second that.
but
The
we have-
community wants those trees to stay. They want some shade for their children. I'm just going to put that in, okay?
But I don't think that the children will actually be playing out in front of the building out there. All of the playgrounds are on the back side and to the opposite. Next, Mr. Two, that's also shows you how it looks whenever you're going eastbound, coming from Sherrod. Next, that's right in front of the school. Only right in front of the school do you have, you know, that grand view of it. Once you clear those oaks. Next. Now that's the road, Old Wire Road. If you'll notice how they've repaved it and it's nice and wide now. They just haven't striped it yet. But I assume the striping will be coming shortly because there's supposed to be a turning lane on it. Next. Okay, now that's a shot from between those two groves of trees right there of the building. Next. And that's the new parking lot. It just hadn't been striped yet. But the loop coming in has been paved as well as the front parking lot, but the striping has not been done yet. And that's what Wallace was looking like as of this morning. Next, Dr. D.
Before you leave, on the loop that you installed, is
Yes,
it
sir.
going up to the front of the building where you can
Yes,
drop
sir.
children off? Or
Yes, sir. You see,
it does make that loop.
if you take it, look right there, just out of the picture to the right is the very front of the building.
Okay.
So that loop goes around, and it's going to be a walkway where they can go right into the front of the building, and it's also going to be one where they could go off to that wing at the end over there.
That's where the K4 and kindergarten is going to be at the very last wing, right?
Exactly.
And that there is going to be an access for them to just drop off there instead of having to walk completely through the building.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Good job.
Is that it?
No,
Yes, sir.
just want to ask about I know the football field, I see where they cut the grass at, but what about the lighting and the lights for the football field? Have we had come?
Mr. Brown is going to take care of
Okay.
all the updates as far as fields and stuff go. Dr. Boyd?
Dr. Boyd is going to speak to us about the Marlboro County football field.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry I'm dressed the way I am, but
All right,
we've
good
got
job.
practice in just a few minutes. I want to thank Dr. McLeod for allowing me to kind of go quickly or go early so I could get out to those young men. Dr. McLeod is handing you a letter from Allen Wilson and Associates out of Lexington. They currently are under contract with our field upkeep. They spray our fields and top dress our fields and do a constant check on our fields monthly. And this is a solution, well, we hope it's a solution, but it's at least an attempt to try to rectify some more drainage problems and some issues that we've been having on the field. This, the little bit of time that we have to try to get our field ready, this situation here that he has put before us is something that they do, or that he's done about 6 times over the last 5 years on 5 or 6 different fields across the state of South Carolina. Since we have such a drainage problem, part of the issue has not only been the actual drainage issue, but it's that we can't get our field to dry completely. Our field, and I wasn't here before that, but I've been here 20 years, but before that, I think at one time that field used to be farmland, and a lot of that farmland has a lot of organic buildup, that soil does, and we feel like we just have not been able to dry it out since they've done the work. So one of the things they are doing in Europe a great deal, and like I said, he's done 5 or 6 times, is it's almost like tilling the field, but they're putting turfus in the field as they do the field, and it helps turfus. It is a drying substance that they use on a lot of the major league fields to dry fields when it gets soaking wet. It really is, it looks like cat litter, to be honest with you, but it dries it up. So they feel, or he feels, that this may be a solution to the problem, or at least we're hoping it may be a solution to the problem, or at least a part-time fix to it. He is actually, Alan Wilson and their group has done, like I said, 5 or 6 fields, and the oldest one they've done has been 5 years ago, and it's still holding up. It's Carolina Forest High School towards the beach, who had the same type issues that we've had, and they have not had to go back in and address that field. So we're hoping that this will do the same thing for our field. And the cost of something like this is $7,500 instead of doing $150,000 more work. So the downside to that is if you go in and they do this in a year and it doesn't make a difference, then we might be out $7,500. But the way we looked at it in our meeting, and Dr. McLeod can, I think, back me up on this, or I think that's the way he felt, was that it was worth the chance to do it because of the past history of the success that they've had doing this procedure. And if it can, I'm not real, I'm a football coach, and math is not my thing, but the way I look at it is that if this will last 5 to 7 years and it costs us $7,500 instead of $155,000, we could do this 5 more times and still be way under that budget, and and over the next 25 years if it works. Now, if it doesn't work, then we have to go back and revisit it. And Alan Wilson's idea is to go back in the spring, take a look at what they've done. And this is something that can be done right after our Jamboree, which is August the 12th. They would come in on August the 15th, do this procedure to the field. It would be ready by our first game, because our first 3 games are on the road this year. It would be ready, and we'll be able to make a determination later. The field that we have has always been a good surfaced field. It's one of the best I've ever been around as far as the grass itself. The problem is the drainage. And that's the issue that we have. If this can solve that problem or help alleviate that problem, it may be worth the risk in taking this opportunity to do it. So he couldn't be here tonight. This is the letter he sent to try to explain it. Right now is a very busy time of the year for him because he does the Carolina Panthers field. He does a lot of fields, and they're out trying to get ready for the start of football season everywhere. So I agreed, or tried to see if I could come and at least try to explain it to you to the best of my knowledge, and ask you if you have any questions that I may can answer. I may not, but I'll be glad to try.
Do you have a budget that you can do this out of?
I think talking with Mr. Park that we and I don't want to put words, we can get this done.
Without us voting, because y'all have put on here all items for information only, which hamstrings us. And by the next meeting...
It's just a part of the maintenance budget,
so... Okay, all right.
We're just going to do it.
Okay, good deal.
Is there any way that we can have some references from other schools? You said, for example, Carolina Forest. Is there a couple of other schools that someone might could call and say, how does this work for you?
I'm sure I can get Alan to do it, or I can call those individual schools, but I'm sure I could get him to get them to write a reference letter for them. I'm sure that wouldn't be an issue.
I just think it would be worthwhile maybe to call 2 or 3 of them.
I agree.
How has it performed for you over the years? Just get a general idea.
I agree.
Okay.
When did he come out and look at our field?
Well, he works on our field constantly. He did not do the project the thing that we did before, but he does work on our fields. He actually was on our fields last Wednesday to look at it again, but he was there the day that we had this meeting as well, which was about a week before that, I think. So he's been out twice within the last month to look at it.
Anyone else? Ms. Owenation?
In your opinion, is there any downside to it? Will this do something that we can't fix if it messes it up? My simplistic thing is, you don't see any downside to it.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Sometimes we've had them come in and we've had to fix what they did.
No, ma'am, I don't. I think this is the best. I'm not saying it's going to work because we're not real sure, or I'm not, but I trust him. He's been very good on our fields, and everything he's ever done on our fields has been good. So.
And no toxicity for the players.
No.
That was my concern.
No,
Cat litter.
yes, ma'am. No, there's
I think
no
this is
that.
a great idea. Something to do that is reasonable that we can try. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. Wouldn't you all think that'd be great? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
wondering why he didn't suggest this before, since he always work on our field.
Well, he actually, when the first time that all this came up 5 years ago, he actually didn't mention this and talked about this, but at that point in time, we were talking about trying, at that time, we didn't know for sure if it was just drainage, and Dr. McLeod may can answer that too. We didn't know if it was just drainage or a part of a soil problem too. Now that we've got some drainage cut in there, and we're still having the problems, we think it was a combination of both. So I'll let...
The board may not remember, but if you go back to April of 2013 and check your records, I brought you a proposal from Mr. Wilson that had 3 options, and this was one of them. And that was at the board meeting on April the 8th, 2013.
So do you know why, Dr. McLeod, so what swayed us to go with the other option? Because you had to give us some in-depth.
Well, at the time, the board said that I guess everybody was focusing more on doing the entire field.
It was.
And it was 125,000. And they said that, you know, the board decided that that was a little too much at that particular time. But if you go back and check the papers that I gave you on April 8th, you'll see that this was one of the options that he offered at that time.
Mr. Driggers?
2 quick questions. On your sand injectors, I'm assuming you've got a number of those you're going to be putting in. So he's more or less has told you that he's going to do it 50 times or whatever. Is that going to cause any problems with your irrigation systems?
It's going to be 8 inches deep, so it should be right above our irrigation. It shouldn't cause an issue there. It takes, from my understanding, it takes to go 5 yards in distance to do this, it takes about 45 minutes. So it takes, it's extremely slow process. It'll take him 2 days to do this because...
What size would these injections be? Is it like a box, a 3x6? Or?
It's like a pen. It looks like, it's almost like tilled. You know, and they're real side by side. They're about that far apart, and it's about the size of a pin. And what it does is it kind of cuts the trench, and then the injector goes in behind it as it cuts it, and it fills right back in. And it's the wildest thing I've ever seen, to be honest with you. But he showed us clips of it and how they have done it before, and it's an extremely slow process, but from my understanding, they've had really, really good success with it.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
How quickly does it work? I know what you're saying. You're putting it in there, and it's going to rain, and it's going to go to the cat litter or whatever. So what kind of time frame are you talking about that's going to draw over to that, to dry the field out?
He's thinking within a week or 2 we should see a difference in the if I'm answering the correct question. You might be asking.
I'm thinking about a heavy downpour Thursday and we got a game Friday. Is it going to be?
It should still help with that. I don't know that it will go that quickly, but it should help with that.
Okay.
Any other? Yeah.
This question will be for Mr. Duff, because I think he has been in consult with the contractor, architect, whoever proposed the original solution last year. Where are we? I realize this is a proposed solution. I realize this is a proposed solution. I'm still of the opinion that we didn't get the work that we paid for previously. And so my question is, we're being asked to assume the full $7,500? Is that again, I'm sure there's been some discussion with them, so have they offered to partner in any of this? Because like I said, I still have issue with the previous work that was done, because I don't think the work that was done was the work that was requested, and it certainly wasn't to address the drainage issue on the field.
Well, this is the first I've learned about the outcome of the meeting that I guess you recently had. It was after we spoke by telephone, a week, 10 days ago. So I'm only now learning about this initial or temporary fix. that's going to cost $7,500. I have explained, Mr. Goff, to you previously that, you know, the version of how the plan that obviously didn't work came about. The version I've gotten from the architectural firm is a good bit different than what I have learned from district administration. So there is a difference in view of how this came about and all of that. And you know, I was not a participant in any of these meetings or discussions until after the fact. But as far as legal recourse or legal remedies or how responsibility should be apportioned, I'd rather discuss that with you in executive session.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Tiller?
And I'd just like to share, so the board can be clear, what I asked the Administrative Services, Dr. McLeod, Dr. Boyd, and others that were involved to do is look at a way that we could ensure that our field would drain properly and things would be safe for our students for this school year. I didn't go back to revisit the situation with Jumper Carter and Cease because I think that that's going to take some time to iron out. Again, I would ask that we go back to Mr. Wilson because that's where we started in 2013. That's what we brought to the board then because that's who has always worked on the football field for us. And so at this point, what I'm trying to do is make sure that the field is ready for play and that we won't have the problems that we had last year when we had all the flooding and torrential rains.
Ms. Parson? Hang on. Did you have something else you were about to?
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fleming. Whoa, she's got a question.
I just want to caution Mr. Driggers and Blenheim and Mr. Coachman and Wallace. We are contemplating, we're in the process of doing sports fields. Do all the things that needs to be done, no matter what it costs, no shortcuts, because it ends up costing us more in the long run. I don't know what the soil is like in Blenheim or in Wallace, but I know we're planning to do fields there, and ever since I've been on this board, it's been something with this field here, and I don't know whether the testing or what needs to be done when we build that field, but by the time we put all that concrete out there, I would think that we would have the dirt should be okay, but obviously not. So I just wanted this, you two guys are, those are your schools, and they're our schools as well, but you're all involved in that. No matter how long it takes, we don't need to rush because we want it right. It's nothing worse than constantly fixing and patching, and that's what we're doing, and I don't want to do that.
I think that's a good note to end on right there.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd. Thank you. Mr. Brown, would you please give us an update on the Blenheim and Wallace projects?
Madam Chair, just for clarification, you said this is going to be handled under the maintenance, and so this work's going to go ahead and start taking place, correct? Is that my understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
August 15th, I don't know if you heard that.
That's why I wanted to find out if they had the money to do it because of the time frame. Mr. Brown.
Yeah, good evening. Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Tiller. I want to bring you an update on Wallace, and I'm going to refer to some of these photos too, but basically the grading was completed along with the paving, the roads, and the parking lots. Seeding is to begin this week, and I met with the contractor, and they are going to provide us with a cost to add some fill material and seeding on the east side of the property, which is parallel to the original entrance off of Highway 9. Do we have, is there one more? There. If you see that entrance, you look up towards the east wing or the kindergarten section, right in there where he has the cursor, that we're going to put more fill material in to raise that it's a real steep bank right behind there. And we're also going to clear more off to the right, right up, yes, right along that line. So that's what I asked the contractor to give us a price for. I also gave him, asked him to give us a price to remove the old fence that's out front. It was not in the demo of the plans. And both entrances onto Highway 9, this is the entrance that went to the gym. There's another one that went to the cafeteria. If we can get to, I don't know if we have that one. It's right there to the right of the telephone pole. Yes, sir, that's it, where there's the stop sign. The Department of Transportation okayed the new roadways in and on and off of Old Wire Road. They are forbidding us to use any entrance off of Highway 9. You can't get in or out off of Highway 9, and that's for safety for these school buses and cars for that matter. So I asked them to give us a price to remove both those entrances, take the asphalt out and the ditch, put the ditch back in and the fence out. That along with, there's 2 old red brick monument kind of things to clean that up. And they've given me a price today, and I didn't have it on my notes, but they gave me a price of less than $25,000, and it's depending on the cubic yards of fill that we bring in. That's going to really dictate, but we think it will be less than $25,000 for that. And we have money in the contingency, but I just wanted to share with you that those 2 entrance roadways need to be closed or abandoned, because people will start using them. Somebody's going to decide it's a shortcut. They're already coming around the back at the behind the school from the county property onto the school property, riding around. So you can imagine at some point somebody's going to say, well, I can get home quicker if I go to that old entrance. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. So that's the update on that. The status of the additional ball field in Wallace. I have the plan, including the topography drawn by Blackwell Engineering, for the board to review. And he's made some notes that and I can show you on the plans, but the outfield crosses the property line, and the ditch in the center field, there's what was proposed, there's just not enough property because it goes past the woods and past the ditch, which crosses the property line. And it's a large outfall ditch. And then the left field fence encroaches the DOT right-of-way. And most of the trees, bushes, as well as clearing, grubbing in the outfield. And then the fill will have to be brought in to get a proper slope from the infield and outfield for drainage. And you have basically a 5-foot drop from what would be center field to home plate. So, and the topography is here. We'll show you the elevations and how quick it drops. So, but the big problem is you don't have enough property, according to Mr. Blackwell.
And what size field was that for? I don't understand.
What
were the dimensions?
265 down the lines, 315 to center, which is the Little League and Pony League for ages 13 and 14, 7th and 8th graders.
Will we need 315 center field?
Well, that's what you need if you want to go to a 7th and 8th grade field.
I'm just on the impression that we only need 285 center field. How about you, Mr. Goff?
Where is the problem at? Is it in the center field section? The 265 will fit, but the 315 won't. Is that what we're saying?
No, by the time no, sir. The main problem is the center field is not enough room.
Okay.
The second problem is that you have a fence that has to go down along behind the dugout and give you enough room from the foul line you have to go over so many, 60 feet for a fence. And that puts you in the, right at the edge, into the pavement on Old Wire Road and across the right-of-way. And then on the other side, you're probably within 5 feet of the other fence of the existing field. So you can't rotate it because you get out of one, you're going to get trouble in the other.
Well, is there any other options on that area that we could use? I mean, 280.
The other option that I proposed was to take the existing field and extend its radius for outfield. If y'all can see this, I'm sorry I don't have it on the screen. This is the existing.
Would you help him hold that, please? There you go, thank you.
This is the proposed field, and here's where it's crossing the ditch. The ditch is here. So all this, all that has to be cleared out, and then, now you can, you can go in if you got enough money, but if you want to put enough pipe on that ditch, but it'd be expensive. But you still have the road problem. My first proposal was to extend this existing field by 30 feet and make the arch here.
That's the county field, all right?
Yes.
The county field.
There it is. There's the county field right there.
They're not willing to do that.
Well, I thought they were going to work with us. And they're not willing to do that.
They're not willing to extend the regular recreation field. That's why they want to use that property.
Well,
Are you sure about, Michael, are you sure about that? They haven't changed their mind?
Well, my
I was
question
just
is, if we were to extend the smaller field and turn that into the bigger field, then we would have room to build them a smaller field, correct?
Well, you already have a smaller field, the new field that we have when they came with the school.
Okay.
And you
So that
already
would
got
basically give
another
us-
smaller field sitting. You
So
have
that
two
would
small
basically give
fields.
us 2 small fields.
You already got 2 small
That's
fields.
what we have now with the new one that was built at Wallace. You have 2 small fields, would have 200 foot at the outfields, center of the outfield. Yeah. And this field here is at 235 in the outfield, and if it was expanded to 265 down each line, you could put a temporary fence in if they needed to go back to that 235, a movable fence.
Okay. My thing is, I see you said it's 315 is what they call it for. I don't think we need 315 center field to play middle school ball on.
All I can give you is dimensions at the Pony League.
Yeah, I understand about Pony League. I understand what you're saying.
And Little League, I mean, that's what they ain't Tim Brown telling you these numbers.
Rules are rules.
Well,
I guess what we need to do, or maybe, and this is just my suggestion, is if you can come back and tell us what size of field will fit in that area.
That sounds
If it's
better.
265 down the line, 285,
Then we'll take that.
what it is, and then we can, kind of figure out from there what we're going to do. Because there are options. You can make a 6-foot fence or 10-foot fence, and he's still got to poke it pretty hard. He's got to hit it 315 feet to get it over a 10-foot fence. I'm just saying, we have some other options.
well, you can put a bigger fence right on that existing field, if that was a plan.
That's what I'm looking at, too.
Yeah, you're trying to run it together.
Just stick it up higher.
Good.
And what are the dimensions on this field down here, the one at the bottom?
The one on the bottom is 235, right, yeah, right there, Mr. Jim. It's 235 to each foul line.
222. Well, if you could get 265 or 280 and then put a little higher fence.
That's right there.
You could do something there, work around it somewhat.
Well, I mean, and I think we can modify the backstop a little bit. I mean, I don't think, I understand that what they're saying in regards to the 60 feet, but I'm almost certain that we don't have 60 feet in McCall.
No, it's not 60, it's 60 feet on the outfield lines.
It may not be perfect, but sometimes you have to improvise.
No, it is 60 feet at home run, at home plate too, I'm
Home
sorry.
plate.
Could we form a committee of you guys who do the ball thing? Or can the committee meet and solve this problem
Yes.
in a committee and then bring us a
I
solution
think we
back?
need to.
Would that work out?
Yeah, that'd
everybody?
work fine.
All right.
Since it's
Y'all
county
meet.
field, Mr. Steen and Mr. Harrington's already on that committee also.
We got
Right.
topography now, so that'll give them,
Right, something to work with.
something to work with, and so y'all can.
And we'll get back to education. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Tim, it's very important that we have softball fields for our girls and our 7th and 8th graders out there. We want to do
This is not a
right.
softball field, is it?
We do,
No,
we
but
do
I'm just
have,
saying, we have that, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's very important to have a middle school.
we do have
field
softball.
At a brand new school.
the softball field is the little field that is 200 foot. That's for all girls
Right.
softball at any age. So we have two of
So-
those, actually.
Yeah.
The county has one and we have one.
I was going to say, aren't there 2 for that?
We have two, we didn't need to, but we got
So
two.
can you move on to Blenheim?
Yes, ma'am. I
Why
have,
can't we enlarge that smaller field? Why can't, well, y'all figure it out, but why can't we enlarge that smaller field? There's 2 small fields out
Do
there.
you go inside the gym?
Let's let Mr. Brown move on to Blenheim.
Thank you.
Y'all can ball field in the community.
the status of the proposal of the Blenheim Ball Field. I have not received approval from OSF at this time, and I've emailed today and to Mr. Kugler to ask, can you give me a time frame for when OSF will complete the review of the ball fields in Blenheim? So I have to give a report to the board tonight. And he emailed back and said, no one in office to review until middle August at earliest. So
Oh, well.
they don't have any,
Okay, now,
working.
not yet, let me talk. We're in Blenheim now. And what we're talking about now is no one's gonna review the plans until mid-August.
That's correct.
Is there. What basically we're doing, we're giving them the plans, what we're proposing to build.
That's correct.
Is there any way we can move this a little quicker, Mr. Brown? I mean, because we've been waiting in Blenheim now for 4+ years. Is there any way we can do anything to make this move a little quicker than we're making it move?
Yes, sir. I've thought about it because it's April 4th is when we sent the plans to
Okay.
OSF. So how can we move it forward, knowing that they're going to review it at the earliest mid-August, so say it's end of August before we get it. I would propose that you would put it out for bid. We have the plans, that we put it out for bids. And then as soon as we had the approval, we were already gone through the bidding process, and we probably have already got a tentative selection on the contractor that would do the work. By doing that, if OSF comes back and says, I don't understand what they would do to change a ball field plan. I mean, a football field is a football field. It's 100 yards. I mean, so I don't know what you can change. We're not building a structure at this time. We're just putting in the ball field.
Is it a bureaucrat justifying their own existence?
But they seem like they're awful busy. I think they'd want to get rid of some of this stuff.
Until summer vacation.
Yeah,
Okay.
but anyway, so my proposal would be, a recommendation to the board, would be to go ahead and put out a request for proposals using the plans that we have, and then if we have to alter anything, it can't be much, and that could be done with the contractor once you had a low bidder.
So we might could have something in hand when we got the approval.
So when you got the approval,
Yeah,
you can call the contractor and say, you got 30 days, let's go.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
Madam Superintendent, that meets our guidelines. Dr. Tiller, would that work for us?
As far as,
Putting out bids?
I think that that's acceptable, yes.
Let
But
me
of course, we can't move forward until.
No.
we get
No,
the-
Right.
and let me mention, there's a lot of times in the construction world that a company or individual or group, like a school district, puts something out for bids and they all come in higher than the money that they have. So they just reject them all. So it's not unusual for a contractor to put a bid in and no one gets selected. But in this case, I don't think we'd have that problem, but I'm just saying that, you're not doing anything wrong as far as construction-wise.
Can that be done without us voting, since it's all here for information only?
It's fine with me. You just tell me what you need.
I'm for it myself, but I don't know where else would you want to make a motion, Mr. President?
I make a motion that we, prior to OSF approval, put out for bids, Wes, listen to this, the ball field at Blenheim, the football field at Blenheim,
And baseball.
not to be acted upon until we have OSF approval.
Well, I wouldn't do it.
I know,
Yeah,
but
but, and you want, excuse me, you want to add the softball field, baseball field, and football field?
Yes, with that addendum.
Just add it
Add
to the
that.
motion.
Yeah. Go ahead. Softball,
Baseball.
baseball, and football.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get that, Ms. Tweed? All right.
I'll
Is
be
there a
proud to second that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your, Dr. Tiller?
I just think that it's important to note in the minutes that, when we ask for proposals for bids, that it's understood that it's if we receive approval from OSF, because a lot of
That was
times-
in our motion.
Yeah, I said subject to the approval of
But
OSF.
I mean for what's actually in the bid.
Proposal, the bid proposal.
Right.
Because that's.
Yeah.
And that the language of the proposal reflect that.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're covered. And we've got a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Good.
And all opposed? Ms. Fleming, what are you doing?
I'm abstaining.
Ms. Fleming is abstaining. The motion's carried.
One other thing before Mr. Brown leaves.
Mr. Coachman?
I like to also put it in a motion that we form this committee and use the drawing that Mr. Brown have, and to get with his committee members to come with within the guidelines that'll fit for middle school field and Wallace on the property that he has there.
Y'all already have a committee.
But I'd like to put in a form of motion that we have the go-ahead, so I can get with the committee, we can move forward and bring it back to the board with what he has. I mean, we made a motion on Blenheim to approve that. We need to approve
I'll
the field for
second
Wallace.
that.
Thank you.
This committee of Mr. Driggers, Mr. Goff,
Mr. Harrington,
Coachman,
and Mr. Steen.
Harrington, and Mrs. Steen.
All right. And you seconded. All right, all in favor? Unless there's further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Ms. Fleming, are you abstaining?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And one other thing,
And
and
the
I'll be
motion's
finished.
carried.
The lighting at the football field in Wallace, Mr. Brown.
We have not heard back from Jumper Carter Cease on that. I did meet with Duke Energy because they were talking about adding another line, and we, according to our plans, we have 2 conduits running under the road into the existing electrical room, and they can pull the power from there and save a lot of money. So they were redrawing those plans.
Can I have a copy of that drawing before you leave, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hart, we have resolution authorizing issuance and sale of tax-exempt general obligation bonds. We need a vote. And would you please explain those bonds?
Certainly. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Tiller, you have before you a resolution authorizing issuance and sale of tax-exempt general obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $1,660,000 through the South Carolina Association of Government Organizations program. The district on an annual basis must issue a general obligation bond to provide for proceeds to retire the annual installment purchase revenue bond as issued in 2007, and a portion of which were refunded in 2010 in order to qualify the use of tax millage to retire the debt. The recommendation here, of course, the draft of the resolution was prepared by our bond counsel, the McNair firm, and my recommendation is to adopt the resolution as presented.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move that we authorize the issuance and sale of an amount not exceeding $1,660,000 in general obligation bonds. And we're going to do it in more than one series.
It will only be one series.
This phrase says one or more. Can I change that?
Well, if it says one or more, I guess it's a contingency in the event that it would require an additional amount.
In one or more series, in one or more years, with the appropriate series designations, including a tax-exempt series and a taxable series, if necessary.
Yeah, that would be unnecessary in my opinion, but
I was questioning that.
yes.
Okay. of the School District of Marlboro County, South Carolina, authorizing the South Carolina Association of Governmental Organizations to facilitate the sale of the bonds under its general obligation debt program, prescribing the terms and conditions under which the bonds may be issued, authorizing the superintendent of the school district to determine certain matters relating to the bonds, and providing for the payment of the bonds and the disposition of the proceeds thereof and other matters relating thereto.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion?
I had that question about the tax, because we've been doing tax exempt.
We have been doing tax exempt, and there's no reason that this
That
would
would
not
not
qualify as a tax exempt issuance.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Parks. And next, we have the financial report as of July 21st, 2016.
You have the financial report as of the July 20th, 2016. I don't know if there's any questions regarding the report as included in the packet.
Any questions? All right, let's move on
Okay.
to the cost to modify the retiree pay for school and other administrators.
Yes, I've
We
included.
asked you to bring that last month.
Yes, ma'am. I've included that cost to modify retiree pay for school and other administrators, and you can see what that cost is by class. And of course, you can make a recommendation in this regard, but we do not have budget to provide for those increased salaries at this time. Last month was different because, of course, we had vacancies associated with the teacher salaries. So, but you can see what those differences are. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer any of those questions you might have at this time.
Mr. Coachman?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, Ms. Parker, they said there are currently 8 classroom teachers.
Yes, sir.
That's in the retired pool, and 4 administrators and 12 classified staff members?
Yes, sir.
And all those are included?
I've only included the administrators. I have not included the classified personnel in this analysis. And if we include classified, that number increases significantly.
So that would be the 12 classified.
That's 12 outside of what we're presenting here. So we've got 4 administrators as a part of this cost allocation here. 8 classroom teachers, 4 administrators, and then we've got 12 classified that is not included in this analysis.
I was just reading on the report that we said that they will be included in it. The vote to approve the incentive was, and then I was looking at it in the Marlboro Herald that was from our previous meeting.
Okay, I may have misunderstood the request that was made. I thought I was just.
It was. I'm reading from the Marlboro Herald from Thursday, because I got several phone calls about it, and it included the 12 classifieds to it. Looking at the article here, it said, you know, the 8 classroom teachers and 4 administrators and 12 classified staff members. Board members asked for a report on the possibility of adding administrators to the new incentive along with the teachers. I'm just asking about the 12 classified. Are they going to be included? And I heard what you said.
I'll be glad to bring that information next month if that's
the
recommendation.
And I also need clarification because an inquiry's been made to me. I don't think that I was under the impression that the 7 years experience was going to be based on anything other than their current salary at 7 years experience. So I don't know if any of the other board members are of the understanding, because it was brought to my attention that they were paid at a bachelor's degree with 7 years experience. They were paid for a bachelor's degree at 7 years experience and not at their current pay grade. So maybe am I the only one who misunderstood that was the intent, was to pay them not at their current level of experience plus 7, but they're being paid at a bachelor's degree plus 7?
That's what I understood.
Okay. Then understand that we're probably going to end up losing some people because I don't think that was their understanding of it either when they were brought back.
Do we discuss that?
We certainly can.
Dr.
Mr.
Tiller-
Woods?
Dr. Tiller, when we talked about the 7 years, because I remember we said 7 years, did we talk about the level of degrees, or did we put in what we want to pay them with experience or a bachelor level?
What we discussed at the last meeting was, we proposed that we pay them at 7 years of experience, period. At this point, if they were a teacher and we were paying them, and they were retired, then they were being paid at 0 years experience on a teacher scale.
Okay.
So what we proposed is that we pay 7 years experience on that same scale. It had no reference to degree level.
The current retirees, prior to this change, retired teachers were paid on a bachelor's with 0 degrees.
It also included,
0
prior
years.
to this, didn't they have to do yard duty and all those kinds of things, bus
Yes,
duty?
ma'am.
And am I correct that you had arranged that they would have no extra responsibilities as teachers?
They will not have any supervisory responsibilities as far as being, participating in professional development, developing lesson plans, being informally evaluated. We have to do those things because they're required of any teacher by the state of South Carolina, retired or not. So those requirements, we can't omit those. However, as far as the supervision is concerned, we said that we would not hold them responsible for that.
So we're adding to what we have done substantially, giving them, well, not substantially, but 7 years experience to our retirees who were getting paid 0 years experience. We want them to at least have 7 years of experience and to remove some of the duties that, like day-to-day duties, bus duty, et cetera. Okay.
If they wanted to be back at their original pay, then the solution was not to retire. And we've done an improvement.
Right.
So
Right.
there comes a time where you have to stop, at least for this year. That's my position. You know, if you,
Thank you for the information. This is
anybody else
Thank
have
you.
any questions?
And it did say bachelor plus 7. I've got last month,
It's on the,
I've
think
got
it's
last
on
month's
the-
board packet pulled up. It
Okay.
said bachelor
I understood
plus
bachelor's. Okay.
okay.
All right, let's
As long as
see.
everybody understands, we may end up with some
Now, squinty eyes, let me
openings.
see what's next.
And Ms. Parsons, if I can just correct myself, what I was trying to say is no advanced degree plus 7. Yes, ma'am.
All right, update on responses from firms regarding critical the plumbing, electrical, HVAC thing.
Yeah.
My eyes are terrible without glasses.
Oh, thank you. Just to give you an update on what's transpired since the last meeting, we were able to send communication to 17 firms who provide HVAC, electrical and plumbing services. Of those 17 firms to date, we have received 4 responses. 3 of those responses indicated what they filled out the questionnaire, more or less, which gives us a really good idea what type of capacity the firm has. Some of their policies regarding background checks, which is very important with our operations at the school, as well as what their rates are in terms of service calls, after-hour calls, hourly rate, and of course response time, as well as the number of licensed electricians, plumbers, and HVAC. We were able to confirm that we're already doing business with the 3 firms that responded, providing that information, and we've also given that information to Dr. McLeod, as well as that will go to Ashley Bowen as well, the maintenance supervisor. So I just wanted to update you. There wasn't as much response as I'd hoped for, and it appears as if we're doing business with the firms that also want to do business with us and also have the capacity. That's the other side of that.
All right,
Let me ask
Ms. Fleming.
I know it's hard to, and maybe not an easy question, but in terms of our budget, what you were paying our previous maintenance supervisor and the rates that they're giving you, is this within our budget or what?
Well, we continue to use outside services, and we are seeing the rates that they presented to us as to what we've been paying all along. So the question,
But I'm saying that you would,
as far as the staffing side of that,
the frequency that you would need these people would be more now than previously, am I correct?
you are correct. And of course, the startup of school as well.
If I could just interject to address your question, Ms. Fleming, is this year for the startup, we're gonna need them, but we've always needed them.
Okay.
We've, for example, I know when I brought to the board at one point an update last year when we had over 600 outstanding work orders. Now, some of those things could be handled at the building level with some of our maintenance. And sometimes there were some things that we could have handled in-house with technology, with simple repairs. But a lot of the bulk of it's major because of the age of some of our buildings. For example, Mr. Goff reached out to me, I think it was back in June, about a problem we had last year in McCall in the kindergarten wing. And we've had someone working on it the last several weeks, way before they came back to school. And I finally just had to call Mr. Edwards and ask him to come and just go on and take care of that for us. For example, every time I come in the high school, if we've cleared up one leak, there's another. You notice the last time you were here, it was raining in on this side. Now it's raining out there in the commons area. And we also have a big hole out in the busport area. Again, we cannot afford to be reacting. You've got to be proactive. And so in the past, we really haven't had the manpower. We had 2 electricians, 1 plumber. And so, again, what we're working on now is to try to get all of our buildings, all the repairs needed, and all the units serviced so we can move forward. Because we don't want to wait until our students are back and then we're asking outside entities to try to send folks on demand for us, because oftentimes they can't do that. So, yes.
Wait a second. Some of the costs for these temporary help be offset by the lack of permanent employees.
That absolutely. We're not paying salaries out at this point in time for those technical positions.
Well, I just want to know that do we have the funds to take care of what we need to take care of?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can we move on to teacher supply checks?
Great. On August 8th, the district will be distributing teacher supply checks at the school. The checks will be issued in the amount of $275 based on criteria established by the South Carolina Department of Ed.
Okay. All right. And next, Marlboro County School District has been identified as a low-risk auditee.
Dr. Lane is going to pick this one up.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Park, and Madam Chairperson, Dr. Tiller, members of the board. Good afternoon, or rather good evening to all of you. If I may call your attention to the screen just behind you, I'm very pleased to announce that our district is one of the few districts, and I do mean few because some of my former colleagues from the State Department advised that many districts end up being Tier 2, but we are Tier 1, and that is terrific. We are considered a low-risk universal support district for federal programs. That is terrific. And what that means is that both the state of South Carolina and the federal government has a high degree of confidence in our ability to manage federal funds and especially federal grants. So
Just wonderful. That's why we.
that is wonderful. In fact, they spent last Tuesday in our district, and they went through our documents and our financial reports with Mr. Park and his team, and the report came back. We are considered a Tier 1 low risk, and what that means is that they give us a lot of latitude and independence to sort of self-govern ourselves. As you might note from the screen, Tier 2 means that you have a lot of one-on-one intervention. The State Department or the federal government staff will be visiting your district quite often just to make sure that you're on course. And certainly we're very pleased that we're not even anywhere near Tier 3. That means you need a whole lot of help. Well, we're pleased that we're Tier 1. But let me share with you what that also means. We are now, again, recipients of additional grants. We just got awarded 3 additional 21st century grants. And that brings us to having a total of 7 21st century grants to extend our students' learning in the after-school hours. And that is terrific. And I'm pleased to say that each of those grants are for a total of 4 years for $750,000 over the 4-year period, bringing all of the 21st century grants to a total of $5,075,000.
And if I could just interject, I'd like to personally thank Dr. Lane. Dr. Lane has worked very diligently to help us to secure 21st century grants throughout our district. We had them in the past, and then when at a few of our schools, and when those grants ended, we really needed to reach out and look at a different way that we could continue that. Oftentimes, just because you had 21st century grants one time doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have them again. And I also would like to thank all of CIA and my programmatic people who handle funding. Also, Ms. McCall in federal programs, and all the work that CIA did last year, as well as finance, because it takes a lot to be in compliance in every area, be it with state or federal funds. And again, I think that that's something that the board needs to be very proud of, which I am. Because when I came on board, we were paying back money in several different directions for not being in compliance.
That's right.
And so now, not only do we have competitive grants that we have garnered over and over again, but in addition to that, we're in compliance. Title I, 588 indicators, we were in compliance on every indicator. This is not the first year. This has been the last 3 years. And so special ed, we're in compliance. Again, I think that's a lot to be said for our folks and what they've been able to do. And so thank you, Dr. Lane. Thank you, Mr. Park, and all of our programmatic people that work in our different divisions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lane.
Thank you.
And you've got the next thing. You've got one more thing to do.
Oh, thank you,
And
Madam.
if y'all will turn the lights up, I'll find out what it is. Okay, curriculum, instruction, and assessment.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And briefly, I just want to say that the CIA team and I have been meeting during the past several weeks and determining what our focus will be for this upcoming year. And we're very pleased to say that we're really going to concentrate on eliminating priority schools in our district.
I think we should clap for that.
We're also going to focus on having every school become recipients of the Palmetto Gold and Silver Award.
Okay.
And eventually looking toward some of our schools becoming blue ribbon schools. Blue ribbon schools. We feel this is possible through increased test scores, and we're going to do that. Continued improvement of our graduation rate. As you know, we are currently above 80%, and that is phenomenal. Yes, sir. That is. And last but not least, reducing dropouts and retentions from pre-K through 12th grade. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Tiller, your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons. Good evening to everyone once again. I am pleased to introduce this evening Dr. Sterling Harris. Dr. Harris is our new Director of K-12 Curriculum, and I wanted to introduce, thank you, Dr. Harris, and I also wanted to introduce Dr. Mark Bunch, but I don't think Dr. Bunch is here this evening. It appears that Mr. Black is probably sitting in for him from the high school staff, but we're also very happy to have Dr. Mark Bunch, who's joining us this year. These two gentlemen actually garner, and they have over 40 years of experience in education and leadership collectively. And so we're happy that they're coming on board. One thing that I'd like to share about the two of them, both of them have spent extensive amount of time in the area of the principalship. They know instruction. Dr. Harris has, if you look back at his record, he's one of the few principals that's a high school principal that have had excellent and good ratings throughout his career. And so he brings a lot to the table to assist our principals and others, because excellence without excuses is where we're headed, and where we continue to work in those areas of academic achievement and growth for every student. In addition to that, I'm very excited also about having Dr. Bunch with us. Dr. Bunch is coming home. We first met, I guess it's been 16 years ago. I think it was in 2000 when we were both in the New Principals Academy in 2000. And we became very good friends at that time, and I have heard from him every year since I've been here. He's been trying to come home, and so we've finally been able to strike a deal where he can come and join us. So we're happy to have both of you come and be a part of the Marlboro School District family. On this past Saturday, we had the public surplus sale, and this was on all of our old vehicles. And I'm so happy to say that all of them sold. And if you were not there on Saturday, you should have been, because you could have picked up a Ford Escort for $273, or you could have picked up an old bus for $600. But anyway, we're just happy that we had folks to come, and they've moved them off of our lot. And yeah, well, long as it was running long enough to run away. So, and I'm hoping that we're going to have some luck with that same type of luck with disposing of some mobile units in the future. But I'd like to share that the net profit from this sale was $7,862.50.
A lot of ragged cars.
Yes, so, but we're happy that we were able to do that. This year's convocation is scheduled for Friday, August 12th at 10 a.m. here in the high school gymnasium. The theme selected by the administration for this school year is, individually, we're special, but together, we are spectacular, not only in academic achievement, athletics, as well as extracurricular activities. And so I'd like to extend an invitation to all board members and also to members of our audience who are here this evening to come and join with us as we kick off the 2016-17 school year. The Division of Human Resources will host our new employees orientation, and that's going to be this Thursday morning. And breakfast will begin at 8, and we will start the actual program at 8:45, and we will be at your house.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Coachman and Ms. Henson, we're so happy that we're going to have an opportunity to show off our new school in Wallace. And so please, members of the Board of Trustees, we ask that you join us so we will be able to have you sharing with us as we meet and greet our new faculty and staff. Later on that day at 2, we'll have our Marlboro County High School summer commencement, and it's going to be here at the high school in the Media Center. And in this ceremony, we will honor 3 seniors who completed their requirements for graduation during this past summer. They have worked so hard. Oftentimes, if you have students and they don't make it by the June graduation, they just give up. They drop out, they quit. I think that when we started the summer commencement, that was one of the best things we ever could have done. Because we've seen more of our students complete, and I think that has helped to keep driving up that graduation rate. We've gone from 64% to over 80%, and I don't know if you're proud, but I've worked like the Dickens along with my staff, so I'm very proud, and I know that they are. This program will allow us to have, for our students that are graduating in summer, to have the opportunity to receive their diplomas and have their family and friends present. And so I know that Ms. Parsons is usually here each year. I'm here, and other board members, I know that you've been present as you can be. We realize that everyone has to work, but at 2 o'clock on Thursday here in the Media Center, and we will have a reception following the actual ceremony. On Monday, August 8th, all faculty and staff on the traditional school schedule will return to work, and then our students will begin on August 15th. And I'd like to congratulate the administration and staff down at McCall Elementary Middle. We've had a smooth opening there after the summer break. As you all know, our school in McCall is year-round, and their summer break ended, and our students have been back in school there now since July 11th. Our principals are currently working on scheduling or holding their back-to-school orientation meetings, as well as Parents' Day at their respective schools. On last year, our principals asked that we allow them to have their own individual Parents' Day, and we have done that. And so today at the high school, we had the orientation for our freshmen. And so that went very well today, and we will continue to have orientation meetings and parent meetings throughout the district in the next several weeks. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, the district staff is working along with our building level principals to make sure that our buildings not only are clean, those cosmetic things that need to be taken care of have been addressed, as well as the repairs. The repairs we're still working on, but we want to make sure that we have these completed before our students and start back on the 15th. And so I want you to know we're working diligently on that. The district and building level administrators, we've begun our work in preparation for the upcoming 5-year advanced ed accreditation external review. As you are aware, 5 years ago, we went through our initial district accreditation, and we came through with flying colors, and we hope that we can continue to do that. The internal review is presently being conducted, and it's being conducted on 5 standards. So first, before they come in and assess and look at our operation of our school district, they have us to do a self-assessment. And the 5 standards that we are looking at, 1 is purpose and direction, 2 is governance and leadership, 3 is teaching and assessing for learning, 4, using results for continuous improvement, and 5, resource utilization. So those are the areas that we are looking at from the very beginning in the self-assessment study. The Dennis Miller Jamboree of Champions will take place in the McAlpine Stadium starting at 5 o'clock, and this is going to be on the 12th. And an interesting point that I wanted to share is that all of the participants in this Jamboree have either won a championship, all participating teams, they've either won a championship or they played in a state championship. So that says a lot about those who will be coming and participating in our Jamboree. Our Mighty Bulldogs will play, it's my understanding, between about 9 and 10. So we want to make sure that we're out here to support Dr. Boyd, our students, and also the coaching staff. So as I always say, go Bulldogs. And I hope that everyone will be here to support our students. And Ms. Parsons, we do have a need for an executive session as it relates to personnel matters, as far as hiring and resignations. And I'm just so happy that we don't have any resignations. And I think today at my last check, we are 1. Okay, we have 1, and so that means we have remaining 8 vacancies at this point, and I think that's great that we only have 8. To our students that will be leaving, the best to you at Clemson and I don't know where else, but it's College of Charleston. You know, I just think it's outstanding. You know, our students are going places, and I'm also really happy to see Mr. Larkin home with us from Clemson. So good luck to our students, and I just want to say congratulations to you all, because not only are they going, they're going on academic scholarships. So, and that's just a few.
Thank you, Dr. Tiller. I need a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters, hirings and resignations, superintendent's evaluation, proposed contractual agreement, receipt of legal advice, and an employment matter. Would someone please make a motion?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And Ms. Fleming, are you abstaining? I am. All right. The motion's carried. Ms. Fleming is abstaining. The open session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. The motion's carried unanimously. No action was taken, no decision was made. Dr. Cobb.
Madam Chair, school board members, the administration recommends the approval of 1 resignation and 11 elections.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the elections and the resignations.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And there's one other issue. Ms. Owenation, would you be willing to make a motion regarding the Childs and Halligan bill? That hasn't been tended to.
Sure. How much is the bill, do you know?
I don't know.
Which one? What bill?
You're talking about the research bill? I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I was reading the document.
And coming to bring the letter, et
And all of
cetera.
that.
Oh, which one? The first bill, $5,050?
Is that what we're talking about, or we're talking about their bill up through this period of time?
Up through this period, because they had to come back regarding the letter. Y'all left before that could be completed, so that's why we don't have the complete information. And hold on, she's
Well, if we
about to
owe
make
the
a
money,
motion.
if I could just share, I have not received a current bill from Childs and Halligan. The first bill I received for $5,050 from Childs and Halligan, that was before the board had authorized Childs and Halligan to do any work, so I didn't pay it because I didn't. I asked that Childs and Halligan send the scope of work to the board, and I don't know if they've done that or not, but I was waiting to hear back from the board as to what you wanted me to do with that.
So I guess 10 to the first one, and then when the other bill comes, we'll deal with that.
If they've done work for this board, then I think we should pay them. I would make a motion that is it 5,000 or more? Is that what it is?
It's $5,050.
The $5,050 bill submitted by Childs and Halligan regarding research on a contractual issue be approved by this board.
Is there a second?
Question. I got a question.
We have to have a second.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Goff. All right, Mr. Woods.
You mean to tell me that this board is about to approve scope of a work of $5,050 that the board did not authorize or ask them to do this type of work, and we did not have a duly, properly called meeting?
Mr. Woods?
No, let me finish now.
All right, go ahead.
You
All right.
said, don't be cutting people off.
You're asking me the question, and I'll
Right.
give you the
And
answer.
So what I'm saying to you is that in order for us to have anybody service, we should have been able to discuss that, to find out what type of scope of work that they were doing on behalf of the board, so that the board could have a duly proper meeting to make sure that all board members was on board of getting them to do the research work for Marlboro County School District.
All it needed to be was a majority, and there are times that attorneys get the gist of what people want without a vote, when it's inappropriate to come into open session and vote on an issue when it would divulge information that should not be divulged. And that is the appropriate way to do it. I was instructed by...
Who divulged it? You mean there are things that's done that as a member of this board that's representing constituents in this district, that there are decisions that's made without me having knowledge to share with the people in my district? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Well, it sounds that way. Explain
Well,
yourself.
Yes, I'll be glad to. For instance, this evening when you made that big grandstand, you divulged information that some of it was incorrect and some of it should not have
We're
been.
talking about the bill. We're talking about the bill.
Let me finish.
No, I'm asking about the bill. If I was inappropriate, then...
Point of order, Madam Chairman. There's a motion and a second.
Yes, ma'am.
It is
All in favor?
It is
Raise your right hand.
Okay. I'm calling for the question. You can continue to...
All in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion's carried, so the bill will be paid. Mr. Coachman, would you please make a motion to adjourn?